Outsourcing tends to have a bad reputation as being low quality. Partner Hero's value-based approach raises the bar for the outsourcing industry by investing in employee empowerment and career growth, paying above-market salaries, and maintaining a focus on quality and performance. They're more than a service provider. They're also a thought partner for the startups they serve. It's simple. Brands that care about quality customer experience choose Partner Hero. They offer flexible terms and the ability to scale quickly, perfect for startups, with quality assurance baked into every program and offices around the world. So Partner Hero can provide truly global coverage. Outsourcing has long been available mainly to big businesses, but Partner Hero is challenging business as usual by bringing the benefits of outsourcing to businesses of all sizes with short, flexible contracts and fast ramp-up times. 10 years ago, when we were launching the Action Catalyst, we could have used a few extra hands to help us scale quickly, even if it was just for a short while. You can bet that with their expertise, fast onboarding, and core focus on quality, Partner Hero would have had our attention. If you're ready to bring in outside customer support help for your startup that feels like it's a part of an existing team, check out Partner Hero. Head over to partnerhero.com/Action Catalyst to book a free consultation with our solutions team. Mention you heard about Partner Hero from the Action Catalyst, and they'll even waive the setup fee. Now, on to the show.
From Nashville, Tennessee, Southwestern Family of Companies welcomes you to the Action Catalyst. Each week, we share insights and inspiration from movers and shakers in the world of business. Our goal is to help you increase your self-discipline, overcome procrastination, and help you to take action on all the things that really matter.
Today we have a life story, real life guest of a real transformation. And so not a quote unquote professional or expert, but just somebody who's created real change. It's a fabulous way to start the year. We're going to be back strong every single week in 2017. I appreciate you tuning in. We'll get started with this episode just after this message.
This episode is sponsored by Southwestern Coaching. Southwestern Coaching has helped over 11,000 people increase their incomes by over 25% on average. As a successful salesperson, you know the importance of increasing your sales, but sometimes you might just need a little extra push and accountability to meet your goals and grow your business. Southwestern Coaching will help you increase your income through one-on-one sales and leadership coaching tailored specifically to your needs. Together, we will elevate sales. To schedule your free one-on-one business action planning session with a Southwestern coach, go to www.southwesternconsulting.com/Action Catalyst.
Well, some of my favorite episodes here on the show over the last year have been life stories. These episodes where we bring on real people that are our actual coaching clients, and they're people that we've come to know and love and trust and work with on a regular basis, talking to them a couple times a month, often emailing back and forth weekly with them, and just hearing their stories of what they have been going through and the challenges that they have overcome, and just how they have applied and executed, in partnership with their coach, the principles that we talk about, and hearing about their transformations. And it's just stories of hope for you and encouragement. And then also I'm amazed at how much I have been able there's so much to learn that comes out of this. And today is no different. We have Jennifer Bennett, who is here with us, and I think you're going to be inspired by her story, and I think you're going to love hearing her. And then we also have one of our coaches, Shelly Smith, who has been with us for several years and is one of my favorite funny people on our team, and just a total entertainer and truly a servant. And so, ladies, welcome officially to the Action Catalyst podcast.
Thanks for having us.
So Jennifer, I want to start with you. Can you just tell us quickly a little bit about yourself? Tell us what business you're in, who do you work with, what do you do? And then how did you come to hear about Southwestern Consulting?
I've been in the mortgage business for about 25 years. And early on in my career, I was, it was a pretty straight trajectory upward. And I had a lot of early success in the business. Mm-hmm. And I went through a series of life events. One of them was a very difficult divorce after 20 years, and was just struggling to reinvent myself a bit. And one of your representatives from Southwestern came to our office and made a presentation because I somehow had some barriers I just couldn't get past personally to get my business back to the level that it had been at prior to my life events. And so I just, basically just relinquished that I needed help. I needed somebody to give me guidance. And that's kind of how it got started.
And it's such a powerful testimony, just reminder for all of us. It's like if things are not going right at home, it makes it very, very hard for them to go right in the business. And
yes.
Ron Alford is who came into the office, right? And Ron is...
Yes. That they discovered at the meeting that years and years ago they had worked at a golf course together.
No way!
Oh my gosh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Such a small world.
It is. It's a small world. And so for those of you listening that don't know, so all of our coaches both sell and do the coaching. So that's part of us being practitioners of what we preach. And so Ron sold it. In this case, Shelly Smith was who we do like a personality profile or a behavioral profile, and a diagnostic questionnaire. And then we use that information to match clients up with the coach. And so Shelly got assigned. And so Shelly has really been the one working with Jennifer. And so Shelly, like what were some of your first impressions? Like when you first met Jennifer, what did you think or what did you notice or just like what hit you when you first started talking with her?
Well, she's obviously already been very successful and knows the business backwards and forwards and was extremely motivated, and the timing was perfect. So she was ready. Sometimes when people get into coaching, you can tell they're ready to change, they're ready to do it. And even when we went over what was going to be hard about it, she was ready. And I could tell right away talking to her how knowledgeable she was about her business and how good her relationships were with her clients. So I guess the first thing I noticed that gave me kind of a glimpse of the path we were going to be on was a little self-talk things, little ways that she would talk about herself or talk about stress or talk about things being crazy that I could tell were just embedded. They were embedded. And early on, we started catching them and saying, okay, well, we don't want things to be like that anymore, so we need to change how we're thinking about them and how we're talking about them. And that was a huge part of we've revisited that so many times. It's a part of every single thing that we talk about, probably.
And so, Jennifer, do you think that I love the idea that you came in, you both mentioned that you were ready to make a change. And that is one of the things that we always talk about is you have to be coachable and committed and ready to make a change. When Shelly brought up the idea of self-talk to you, was it a total surprise to you? Like, did you realize that you were saying negative things, or was it you?
No.
Okay. Was it?
No.
You were aware of it.
So I've been in sales for so many years. What's so interesting is, when you're trying to build back from, a major loss and you're in sales, it's almost impossible to hide what you've got going on in your life. You know what I mean? You have to literally almost put on an act in order to get yourself past a certain phase when you're dealing with so much adversity outside of work. And I think that self-talk was for sure the biggest factor that continues to be. I mean, I feel like I've made night and day difference in the last year, but I truly didn't realize I was doing it. And it's what I think it's what we go into as humans when we just go into survival mode. And we're trying to survive, and we get up every morning and we tell ourselves what we have to do, but then we have all this adversity going on. outside of work. And when you're in sales, it's very difficult to have an extensive amount of adversity going on. And the talks I had with Shelly, it just got me so grounded. So every 2 weeks, I got to just share with her what was going on professionally and personally. And she was able to just redirect my focus and slow me down and figure out exactly. She would go back over the things I was saying, and she'd say, "Okay, Jennifer, let's recap all the things you just said, and we're going to practice rephrasing. We're going to practice rephrasing them."
What were some of
and
the
it was really true.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. It was really, truly the most formative thing that I've had happen, because I just didn't realize how many things I was telling myself quietly that I didn't realize.
Yes. So Jennifer, and this is great. I think anyone can relate to just their running self-talk being, things are crazy, I'm too busy, I'm too stressed, things are crazy, that person's crazy, this person's against me. Because if you're in the thick of it, it just seems so real. But I think also we just don't realize that we could be just creating it with our thoughts. If you think crazy things are happening, then you're looking for crazy things, or maybe you're attracting them into your life, or whatever it is, or drama that you don't need to pay attention to, but you're so used to just wrapping around you, like it's just been a part of your life that you can't escape, and being able to imagine a life where that isn't there. And for Jennifer, what she did so well was she was in the thick of some crazy drama. And for her to focus on the fact that past that drama, at some time in the near future, was a different life. And that she had to believe that it was there, the same way you believe if you go over this mountain, there's going to be a river. She had to believe that and hold on to it and realize, like, it was crazy, it is now, but it won't be soon, and I need to start believing it and acting as if it's not already. And then, I can start acting like people trust me. I can start acting and believing that I'm back where I was, and that I'm successful, and that things go smoothly, and that everything's worked out. And that was just holding on to a belief for her for a while. It was because in the midst of what she was going through, I can see why it would be really hard. What is some of what
you were feeling, Jennifer? So like so you were married for 20 years. You had been a top producer. Can you just take us a little bit to that place that you were in? Like, what were some of the things that you were feeling? Like, what were some of the emotions that you were experiencing? Like, what were some of the things you were telling yourself, back then?
I think the experience I was going through was just a complete lack of control, and so. And also just a real sense of desperation that I was never going to have my life back, and I was never going to have peace in my life again. And this problem I had going on was just never going to end. And so those are things that are so easy to tell yourself, because it felt so impossible when it was all happening. And what I didn't realize was just how powerful that thought process is and how counterintuitive it is to successful business. I somehow just had to block it out. And I did have to start believing in my heart that it was going to be over soon, and that I was going to be able to get back to how it was. But I think it's just the continuous, getting up every day. Oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get through the day? How am I going to pretend like I don't have all this going on behind the scenes and be a salesperson and be shiny and happy?
What were some of the things that... So Shelly, just coming back to you, so just in this moment, because I want to hear what you guys did to move past it, but I think it's really important because I know that somebody out there is listening right now is going through exactly what you're describing. And maybe it's not a divorce, but they're going through this right now where they feel a lack of control. Right. They feel hopeless. They feel desperate. And they probably don't realize that they're saying some of the things in their own head that are the exact things that you were saying, Jennifer. And so I'm interested to hear from you, Shelly. Do you remember any of the kinds of things that she was saying that caused you to stop and go, whoa, she probably doesn't even realize she's saying that, but that's very detrimental. You should not say stuff like that to yourself. Or what were some of the indicators that caught your attention, Shelly?
Well, I think, and I hear this a lot from coaching clients, is I hear, like, there's no time. I don't have time. Things are crazy, and I don't have any time, and everybody needs me all the time, and no one's helping me. I'm doing it all by myself, and I'm starting from scratch, and it's scary. So words like scary and I don't have time, and phrases about lack and phrases about fear and about loss of control and maybe people being against you or people trying to sabotage you. And that's some scary stuff. And so we would always kind of, whatever the thing was, we would get to, you can either change the physical thing that's happening, like, can you move away from that person? Can you not go to that meeting? Can you ask that person not to do that? Like, can you physically change it, or you have to change how you're thinking about it? And those are really the only two things. That's it. So when if no matter what it was about, if it was about a client, if it was about a pile of paperwork, if it was about a relationship, if it was about anything, what can you actually change about this in reality? Let's decide to do that and hold you accountable to it. And then the other thing is, what can you change about how you're thinking about this? So one of the things I do with a lot of my clients, and I'm pretty sure we did this exercise, is kind of, do you remember, Jennifer, when we slowed down your self-talk and walked through your day like everything was okay?
Yes.
So when you hear somebody stressed out talking, they're usually talking really fast and their breath is really short. And they, and then this happened, and I just can't, even just getting this exercise of just tell me that story again, really slowly.
Wow.
As if everything is okay. And a lot of people, their body is responding, their brain is responding to the panic in their body. And so getting her to say, I've got plenty of time, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm good at planning things, and just saying it as slow as possible. And she would say it as slow as possible, then I would say it as slow as possible, and it calms down your mind because it calms down your breath. Your brain is reacting to how you're speaking about your life.
How did it affect you, Jennifer? So when you started slowing down your self-talk, like what happened?
It was unbelievably impactful. And just the simple words of, what are you actually trying to control here? Because I think that's what most of us are trying to do. We're trying to take whatever adverse situation we have going on in our life, and most of our frustration is just stemming from a lack of control. And it sounds so silly that she had to say to me, hey, Jennifer, what is it that you are exactly trying to control here? And can you? And that's what was so magical, and that's what really started to turn my thinking around, was just realizing, okay, I can't change this right now. There's a lot I can't change about the paradigm, but I can change how I'm reacting to the situation. I can change how I'm thinking about it. And it was almost instantly, that my business started to improve, because it was almost like I was just able to let go of it and release all of that inner, conflict that I had with myself, because I kept thinking, well, my business isn't going to get on track until I have all this conflict out of my life. But the truth was I wasn't in control of when that conflict was going to end. So
what happened to your business?
It's just,
so talk to me a little bit about that. So you guys identify this, you start sort of slowing down the self-talk, you start to become aware of some things. I loved what you said, Shelly, about you can either change what is really happening, or if you can't, then you have to change the way that you're thinking about it. And so you guys start working on this. And then what was the result, or what were some of the outcomes, or what has happened since those first few months?
I think the result was I just had the confidence to go and start forging the new relationships that I needed to forge. And I had to just, in the face of what I was dealing with, I had to just buck up and figure out what I had to do to get to the next level. And I had to quit wallowing in what I had going on. And what I found when I got back out there is there was almost like it was a newer, better version of the old successful me. Because I had more empathy about life. I had more empathy towards my clients, more empathy towards my potential new business partners, because I'd gone through this tremendous life experience that just left me, feeling more attached to life and the struggles that people go through.
Wow.
Whereas when I was a young, successful professional, I just, I was on fire and there was nothing that could stop me, and then life just kind of sneaks up behind you and throws you a curveball.
And so, Shelly,
it's interesting because
go ahead, Shelly. I was gonna ask you kind of like, why do you think that she made it through that? Because I know that not everybody that we coach actually does the work to come out the other side, but it seems like Jennifer has.
Yes, she's always willing. Well, first of all, she really wanted to change the things. Like if she was very frustrated with any mortgage person can relate to the idea of getting everything they need. It's just a very common frustration. Like, these people don't get it. They don't give me everything I need, and they expect their loan to be closed, even though they don't get it. And so there's, taking that little nugget and going, okay, well, why don't they get it? Because they're not a mortgage professional. So it's your job to explain it all to them. And then the other thing is how can I think from their viewpoint? So what can I do about it? What can I think about it? And then we practiced that. So we would take just one little nugget at a time. We would take working with her assistant. We would work with that little nugget. What can we change? What can we do? And she was always willing, even if it was frustrating, she was always willing to practice it and accept the changes. She didn't fight it the way some people do. Some people go, oh, that sounds silly. She would work through it and go, and she really wanted it to be better. She didn't want to stay. She wasn't wanting to hold on to it. She was wanting it to change.
And you think some people do?
Wanting it to change and working through it.
Some people do actually want to stay, even though they're complaining about it. You think that they sometimes actually do want to stay?
Yeah, I think they do because fear of the unknown. I know, the devil, it's this is part of my identity. So I'm sure there are clients that I've had that, part of their identity was being a workaholic.
Wow.
And so the fear of facing what am I like if I'm not a workaholic, because they don't understand what they're going to look like and be like and how their friends are going to accept them if they're not a workaholic anymore, they kind of hang on tightly to workaholic habits. Or, people don't think of me as being competitive, or people think of me as competitive and I don't want to be competitive anymore. What are people going to think? It's like, well, who cares? If it's a healthy direction for you to go right now. But that is a scary thing because our occupations are so wrapped up in our identity, our identity is so wrapped up in our occupation, right, that a change is scary. Thing like, what are people going to think about me if I do things a different way, or if I'm not at their beck and call? If I create boundaries around what I will and will not do, so that I'm running my life and not my clients.
Right. That's
scary for some people.
It is scary. There's a payoff. Even though you're like miserable, there is a payoff to being miserable, which is that you don't have to change. You don't have to do the work. You don't have to. You don't have to face the fear of the unknown. That is so good. It's so powerful, Shelly. Now, one of the things that I thought was interesting, you both talked about here just recently, empathy. You know, Jennifer, you mentioned that you had more empathy because you had gone through this life struggle, and that was different from when you were younger, and so you were like just more connected to life and people. And then I think, like Shelly, you talked about kind of coaching through the idea of thinking like through what is thinking through from the other person's perspective. So I thought that was really cool. Jennifer, if you had to boil it down and you say, this is the number one thing that I learned from coaching. I mean, because you've talked about, self-talk and empathy and we've covered a lot, I think, so far. If you had to say this, walking away from this experience so far, like where you're at, and you still got, work that you guys are doing and hopefully a long, long time to go that we're teaming up with you. But what's been the number one thing so far?
Oh my gosh. That's really hard to pinpoint. Just because there's been so many different aspects to it. And I think, I think we come into this with so many preconceived ideas about who we are and what we are. And that's what I needed help breaking down. I needed somebody to help me break down me and the barriers that I was putting in place in front of myself that I didn't even know I was putting there. And so my biggest obstacle through this whole process wasn't my circumstances or what I had going on. It was me. And I just needed to face that fact. I needed to face that, okay, I'm not 25 and a top producing loan officer anymore. I'm scratching my way back, and I don't work with all my close friends anymore, and I'm not getting all the awards anymore, and I'm not in the inner circle like I used to be, which was a really tough adjustment coming back when you're used to being an elite producer. You have to let go of the past. So, I think the biggest, and I know that's a general answer, but the biggest thing I've had help with is just somebody breaking down every aspect of how I'm approaching my business and my life and the things I'm saying to myself that were creating obstacles to my own success.
Now that's going to stick with me. That's going to stick with me, Jennifer, what you said. I think you literally said, I realized my biggest obstacle was not my circumstances. My biggest obstacle was me. That is that is such a powerful, salient moment to highlight, because I think a lot of us have to get to that place. And I do have one more question for you, Jennifer, but before I do that, I want to go back to Shelly, and I want to flip roles for a second. And I think, Shelly, you would probably agree that so often it's like we learn tons from our clients, and they teach us so much. And thinking through the time of you kind of watching Jennifer, what would you say is the biggest thing that you've learned from her?
Well, I think she has such amazing resiliency, and she isn't one of these people who's making up drama and saying, these are my circumstances. Like, she had actual dramatic circumstances.
You had real drama. Girl, you got drama going on.
Actual, up close, serious drama in several areas. And still, she was willing to say, well, okay, I'm willing to overcome this. And what's been amazing is watching her realize what I've learned is if you believe it long enough, all of a sudden you don't have to talk yourself into it every day. The first maybe 2 months of trying to believe that your life is going to change every day, you just have to just believe it and talk about it, believe it, and maybe you're just sort of believing it. But then one day you realize, like, oh, I have a great life now. And we kind of shifted to gratitude at some point, didn't we? And we started talking about, like,
Yeah.
you live on a boat, and that's so cool. And you have a great sweetheart. And you have cool experiences. And you have great girlfriends. And, just we started realizing we weren't striving for it anymore. We were living in it. And then we went from living in it to being grateful for it. And lately you've just been so about the gratitude and about jumping to the mindset. Like, you're now forming the habit. Like, I've watched her climb that mountain, man. It's awesome. So, and I've watched her numbers go up. I've watched her numbers just go up. So she could have folded. She could have caved in there many times, and she didn't. And she has a really cool life, like an enviable life setup by many measures, and it's just getting better.
That's awesome.
So
that is awesome.
I think I see persistence and just bravery.
Yeah.
Persistence and bravery.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. Is it takes bravery.
Mm-hmm.
It takes bravery to acknowledge. When Ron Alford walks into your office one day, that, hey, maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe I'm open to doing something, and then it takes bravery to be willing to, have someone tell you, hey, there's some stuff going on here with your self-talk, and then bravery to acknowledge that, and then bravery certainly to change it and reinforce it. And this is so inspiring, Jennifer. And I know, as I said, there is somebody out there right now that is listening, and they're struggling with this feeling of loss of control, with being overwhelmed, and just like seeing that they're feeling like it's never going to end. There's no way out of this. And so just my last little question for you is what advice would you give to that person? If they were standing right in front of you right now and you were just talking to them, what would you say?
My biggest piece of advice is you're going to have to fight for it. And, unfortunately in this life, there's not going to be anybody that comes beside us in that tremendous time of need. Of course, we all have friends and family, but, my greatest advice is just decide in your heart that you're willing to fight for whatever it is you're trying to get back in your life, and just don't give up, and just make that your focus, that, whatever your goal is, that you're just not going to let anybody or anything stop that. And, I couldn't have done it without Shelly. I needed somebody to analyze everything I was saying and turn it back around and turn it back around, because I just literally, sometimes you can be really successful, but you just don't have the tools to change around, things that you've been telling yourself for 15 years or whatever you have going on in your life. And so it's been a tremendous help for me.
That is so awesome. You have to be willing to fight for it. That's the first decision, right? It's like you have to be willing to just make it and just go for it. And I'm so thankful. I know Ron's not on this call, but hopefully he'll listen to this, Jennifer, just to hear, because you may not have ever realized this, but our coaches have a certain level of fear that they have to overcome each day to make the phone calls and go out and do workshops and presentations for, like, your manager,
Sure.
and come in and then stand in front of strangers and talk to them about, like, hey, you don't have it all figured out, you really should do this. And I think we work with amazing people, and obviously, you've gotten a chance to work with Shelly, and I just want to acknowledge both of you, and I would say, Shelly, I first want to say thank you for the work that you do and what you have put in, and just it's been, I think you're coming up on like 4 years with us, right, Shelly? It's going to be like 4 years next year, right?
Wow. I think so, yeah.
And just, you have always been someone so committed to your clients and committed to improving the way that we do business so that we can be better for our clients. And when I think of, our mission of helping people achieve their goals in life, it's like, and you probably know this, Jennifer, it's like, that is what Shelly is all about. And she's always been about that.
Right.
And she's just freaking hilarious. Shelly is just so funny. And
I know she is.
And then to you, Jennifer, for your courage and for your persistence, and also for your openness to share some of this. Like, I mean, some of this is kind of personal stuff, and your story is helping people. So I just appreciate both of you ladies so very much. And Jennifer, I wish you the best, and hopefully we'll be partnering with you for many, many years to come. And Shelly, I'll see you soon. So best to you both. I just absolutely love hearing stories like Jennifer. It fires me up hearing about real transformations from real people doing the real work to create real change in their life. That is so cool. And I just wanted to come back through and really highlight two things quickly that were big takeaways for me, and hopefully things that you will walk away with, because I think Jennifer just said it as good as anybody can, or it came out of that interview. And the first thing is attitude. The first part of this is just your attitude and the connection between self-talk and attitude, because I don't think most of us automatically see the connection between self-talk and attitude, right? Like, we hear you should have a good attitude and we kind of think, oh yeah, you should be positive, you maybe shouldn't complain, and you should think of the best, but we don't necessarily directly connect that to our self-talk. And when I say self-talk, I mean, what do you say to yourself? Like, what are you telling yourself all day long in your brain, in your head? And the two are absolutely connected. And the real definition of attitude is this. Attitude is simply the way you choose to see things. That's it. Attitude is the way that you choose to see things. And I loved when Shelly said, like, you can either change the physical reality of the thing that is happening to you, right? Like, you might have some control over changing it. Like, if you're not selling enough, you can work harder, you can talk to more people, right? Or if you're around somebody who's negative, you can get away from them, or a negative whatever job environment or whatever, you can get away. There's physical things that you can do. So you can either change the physical thing, or if you can't make a physical change, or even if you can, the more powerful and important change is to change the way you think about it. And that's what attitude is. It's the way you choose to see things, the way you choose to think about things. And that is always a choice. You can choose to see it as rain, or you can choose to see it as liquid sunshine. What we do not get a choice over, however, is whether or not those drops fall from the sky. And that's what most of us do, is we get so frustrated and caught up in the fact that it's raining that we have no energy left and no intention and no discipline to choose to say, I'm going to choose a good attitude and choose to call this liquid sunshine. But part of the power of self-talk is that it doesn't, if you're focused on self-talk, you don't need as much energy and discipline to choose the positive attitude, because it becomes automatic. It becomes reinforced. Your brain is like a computer. I mean, your brain doesn't believe what is true over what's false. Your brain doesn't believe what is right over what is wrong. Your brain believes whatever you tell it most often. That's what your brain believes. Like, whatever programming you give to your brain, the same as a computer, it's like the brain doesn't delineate. It just follows whatever you tell it to do. The brain is happy to do whatever you tell it to do. It's happy to believe whatever you tell it to believe. And that is what your self-talk is. It's the equivalent of you programming your brain. And so when Shelly's talking about you can change the way you think about it, it literally just means changing what you tell yourself about it, changing what you say about whatever the thing is. Because there was something else that Shelly said that I thought was really cool. Sorry, I'm looking for it here quickly, just at my notes. She said, you have to be able to imagine a life where that frustration isn't there. That's so good. You have to be able to imagine a life where that frustration isn't there. So you have to be able to create it in your mind before you can create it in reality. You have to tell yourself it's a certain way, because when you tell yourself, I'm so busy, you tell yourself, I'm overwhelmed, you tell yourself, people are taking advantage of me, you tell yourself, there's just no end to this, you believe those things, and everything aligns in that way. It starts to become true. So you have to rewrite the programming. And this is hard, right? Like, this is hard. This is not one where I'm going, look, hey, like, take it from me, I've got to figure it out. No, I am on the journey with you, right? Like, it is hard stuff, but you can do it, and it's doable in the connection between self-talk and attitude. And then the second major thing that I just wanted to take the mental highlighter and go over with is what Jennifer nailed right at the end, is that you have to be willing to fight for it. You have got to be willing to fight for whatever it is that you want in your life. Change does not come easy, right? When you change something, you're going against the grain. You're fighting against the current. You're reprogramming your mind. Like, the biology of it, the neuroscience of it is you're forming new synapses in your brain. Synapses, I think of synapses in the brain kind of like paths on a walking trail, right? Like, if you're hiking, the path that everyone is on is a well-formed synapse. It's what you're used to doing. It's easiest to stay on that path. When you create change, it's like you building a new path. The first time you walk over it's the hardest, and then it gets easier and easier and easier over time. That is what self-talk is like. It's establishing a new hiking trail. And you have to do it over and over and over until the path becomes so clear, it's easy and it's automatic. But you have to be willing to fight for it. You have to be willing to make that change. And Jennifer said it the very first moment when she first started talking, and she kept it all the way through, and Shelly brought it up, was that she was willing to make a change in her life. She was willing to be impacted when Ron came into her office. She was willing to be humble enough to say, you know what, maybe I do need a coach. She was willing enough to be ready for it and to be coachable in working with Shelly when Shelly called her out. And that's what coaches do, right? That's what our coaches are doing, is they're highlighting things that need to be improved. And they cheer you on and they champion you and they pull for you, but it's a humbling thing to have to admit, like, I want to partner with somebody to change. But the biggest part was the part about the payoff of not changing. And it's easy to complain and say, oh my gosh, things are so terrible, and I wish so-and-so wasn't a certain way, or I wish this was improved or better or different. But what we often forget is that there is a payoff to us of staying the same, which is that we don't have to do the work of the change. We don't have to do the work of forming the new trail, the new hiking trail. And you don't have to take the risk of failure. You don't have to do the work of forming new habits. And you don't have to face the fear of the unknown. And so in order to really create that change, you have to be willing to fight for it. You have to say, okay, I'm going to face that fear. Okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that work. And that is what it really comes down to. And so this year, and you look ahead and you go, okay, what do I want my life to be like 1 year from today? Chances are you have to make some change. But if you're willing to rewrite your programming and work on your attitude and your self-talk, and you're willing to fight for it, then you can create that change in your life. You can do just like Jennifer did and transform everything and completely turn it around. And it all starts with that self-talk. Well, that about wraps up the Action Catalyst podcast for this week. If you haven't yet, please log in to whatever your favorite medium is to listen to the show and both rate this podcast and leave a comment, as that helps new prospective listeners determine if the show's really a good fit for them.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and screenshot this episode to share with your friends on social media. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst, and subscribe to our video podcast on YouTube. Thanks for listening.